You know this new generation of fancy hippies who take showers and have haircuts and wear shoes sometimes? They like to make videos with very serious faces and blurry backgrounds and confessional tone. A prominent specimen of that species is Mr. Matt D'Avella. He's a popular YouTuber, and yesterday he put a video which starts like this.
So my 20s were by far the most transformative years of my life.
Okay, Matt, if you happen to be watching this video, I don't want to call you a liar or a hypocrite or whatever. I don't know what's your background, so I'd like to give you the benefit of the doubt. But since I study biochemistry, I would like to calmly inform you that, unfortunately, your video is factually inaccurate. Unless, of course, you lied to your audience deliberately, which I trust you would never do. But the fact of the matter is that the most transformative years of your life, if you want to segment them by decade, were not your 20s. The first 10 years of your life, you underwent transformative events that cannot be topped by anything afterwards, at least in terms of objectively transformative capacity. Here's just 4 of them. You transformed from a waterborne creature to a land animal. You start breathing, you start eating, you start moving around, and that besides being impressive from the state of floating in the water, it leads to another transformation, which is, since birth, you more than double in size and your mass increases around 10 times. 10 times! That is an order of magnitude, Matt. That is transformative.
It's definitely the time period where I saw the greatest personal growth.
You learned to communicate with humans and operate in the world without killing yourself by accident. You learned how not to get killed by things that could easily kill you, like cars. This is a skill you didn't need initially. And finally, a small thing, just a tiny little transformative. You gained consciousness. You transformed from a tiny cute little piglet to a conscious human being like me, with glasses and beard and all the visual stuff. I could keep going, but you get my point. If the above are even comparable to anything you experienced during your 20s in terms of transformative effect, then I guess you should have mentioned it in your video. But you didn't, so oops. Just a second, I dropped my mic. Okay, so to illustrate further my point, I decided to make a list of things I learned during my 10s. No, it's not 10s. How do you call them? The zeros? It's the first 10 years of my life. 1. To stand up straight with my shoulders back. Standing up was difficult to learn, but totally worth it, because it freed my hands, and then it was a stepping stone to starting walking, which let me move around faster with my hands free at the same time, which is amazing. And keeping the shoulders back is important, because if you have your shoulders at front, you will fall down.
And then you die.
But don't overdo it, otherwise you fall backwards instead.
Then you die.
Number 2, hard work pays off. Things like standing up, walking, reading and writing, keeping my shit in my bowel until there's a toilet under my ass. All this took a lot of work, a lot of effort, but made my life so much better, so much more efficient as well. Because imagine me making this video, but instead I am illiterate, I cannot stand up and walk, I'm lying down, and I'm wearing a diaper. Is this good content? Number 3, premeditated actions, decisions. You know, as an early child, I used just to act, just doing things. Then thoughts started coming to my head. Then I gained some primitive consciousness of the world. Then I realized I exist. And not much later, I had the startling realization that I can prepare myself before my actions. I can think, play scenarios in my head, decide, and then act, instead of thinking randomly and acting randomly. You know, making thinking and acting work together was huge. And yes, it took a lot of work to fathom and to develop, and to this day even, I act stupid without thinking quite frequently. Number 4 is lying. Lying is the most straightforward way to save my ass for my mistakes. It works with other people, and it works great with myself even, lying to myself. But it's kind of dangerous over time, especially when I use it too much. It kind of slowly poisons me, like smoking or like lead poisoning. Be careful with lying. Fun fact, I learned that other people do lie a lot much later than I started lying myself. So somehow there was a period where I thought that Everybody was absolutely honest about everything, and it was me, the genius, that found the way to hack the system. And the last lesson from the 10s, suck a boob when you encounter one. And that, my friends, was tricky because loving boobs came naturally, but then it withered away. And then during my teenage years, I regained my interest in interacting with boobs, during which time I also learned what consent is. So that's 5 lessons from my first 10 years of life. And by the way, Matthew, Matteo, Matuccio, whatever your full first name is, even the boring list of the 5 things you claim that you learned during your 20s, man, I think I learned most of them during those first 10 years.
Effective communication will solve most of your problems.
Okay, you're a baby and you're hungry, so you want food, so you pull your mother's sleeve persistently, or you start crying and she knows that you want something, but she's not sure if you want to eat or if you want to sleep or if you want toilet or if you hurt somewhere. So she has to trial and error the solution to your problem, during which time you remain hungry. So you have to learn to utter words, you have to learn language, efficient communication, you learn to ask, you learn to lie, you learn to manipulate. The problem-solving power of your communication tools increases as you keep sharpening them. Make sense? That's totally something we learn as kids growing up.
Happiness comes from within.
Okay, this is something you learned after your potty training, the very first time you were in a road trip or in some occasion where you had to wait until you go home and visit your toilet. Happiness came from within.
Don't let your ego sabotage your relationships.
That is something you also learned, I would bet, as a child. So keeping self-centered and also lying, as you said, and begging and threatening may be good short-term strategies to get what you want, but they lower the overall long-term tendency and willingness of people to give you stuff. Don't over-milk your cows, don't over-harvest your apricots, don't sabotage your relationships so you can use them long-term.
There is no substitute for hard work.
Okay, here I don't have a parallel from child experience because I disagree. On the top of my head, here are 4 ways by which you can really avoid hard work. 1. Plagiarism. It works in some cases. 2. Daddy's money. Zero effort money. Access to money that you never worked for. Just hire someone to do the hard work. 3. Take longer time to do the same amount of work and then it becomes easier. 10 hours of work in a day is hard work, 10 hours of work in a month is not hard work. 4, and that's an awesome substitute also, just don't do it. You have to do something, don't do it.
True growth takes time.
True growth takes time. No, I also disagree there. Sometimes, yes. How do you explain explosions? Growth takes time. Sometimes this time is milliseconds, sometimes it's seconds, sometimes it's hours, sometimes it's centuries, sometimes it's years. It depends on the type of the growth. I don't even know why I'm acknowledging you, man. Like I'm giving you voice through my platform. For what? But someone had to call you out. Because what if people follow your advice and then spend all their money in Squarespace and make a lot of websites?
What I love about Squarespace is that you don't have to be a designer to make a beautiful website.
So I don't know, I'm sorry guys I called your king out, but the king is naked. And he's probably gonna make a video about what I learned being naked in 30 days. But the truth is, all he experienced was just cold. That's it. So that was my take. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. I think in the times we are living, it's important to clarify that I was just joking. I know you may think that I stand for the claims I made and that I despise Matuccio, but I actually quite like Matuccio, at least the form that is presented to me through his YouTube channel. So thank you, Matt, for making videos that are cool, and thank you everybody for watching, and please be civil in the comments.